Oh, happy Tuesday, everyone. Welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. And today we are going to be bringing you our season preview for the Washington Commanders. So you don't want to miss that content. If you're looking for consistent content on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Prime Sports World is a pretty good place to hang out. We go live basically every single day, bringing the most up-to-date content. So continue to like, share, and subscribe. Every single like, every single share, every single subscriber helps us build this brand. So thank you in advance. I'm, of course, joined by the always talented Mr. TJ Hopkins in the driver's seat, or passenger seat, I guess, technically. How you doing, brother?
All right. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm pretty good. I cannot complain. You know, it's easy to complain sometimes, but sometimes it's easy just not to complain.
That is true.
Yeah, it's definitely true. But yeah, Washington Commanders is the team we're going to be talking about today. So they made some interesting changes in the offseason, and a shout out to Scary Terry McLaurin. Got paid today. I think he got like the highest over a 3-year deal. He may have gotten the most guaranteed money ever at the wide receiver position. So kudos to Scary Terry. Very well deserving. The guy had way out achieved his contract, and the fact that he was able to do what he did with that quarterback situation in the Commanders for the last 3 or 4 years, kudos to him, and he well deserved.
Yeah. So we got 2 dominoes down, 1 domino to go. That last domino is one Mr. Debo Samuel. So he's looking around. He's looking at the powers that be in San Francisco. Like AJ Brown got traded and got paid.
Yep.
Terry McLaurin got paid, and I am stuck in limbo. But we'll get to that when we get to San Francisco.
Yeah, so 3 years, $71 million is the new money on the deal, the extension. He places among the 5 highest paid wide receivers. $28 million signing bonus, the largest given to any wide receiver ever. Also, 76% of his money is fully guaranteed in that new deal. So congratulations to Scary Terry. Very well deserving. Let's talk about Washington Commanders. Let's just talk about their season as a general before we get into some of their storylines. What we were thinking about what they're going to be like this season.
Well, obviously, you're hoping that Carson Wentz can get this team back into the NFC title. Well, back into the playoff picture. You know, we had 1 year of what were you, a wild card team, and know Taylor.
Actually, I think they won the division that season. And because the Buccaneers were a wild card team that year.
Right. Well, because they went to.
Yeah.
Did they go to Washington, or did
Washington
have to go down?
No, they had to go to Washington for that game.
Well, nonetheless, you were still a wild card team. If you won the division, we have to double check that because I'm not sure on that.
They won the division. I'm 100% sure.
Taylor Heineke set the world on fire because he gave Tampa Bay all they could handle, which turned out to be Tampa Bay's toughest game of the playoffs that year.
100%. Not close, really.
Like it wasn't. All right, like they. So, yeah, I mean, like this past season, you were riddled by injuries all across the board. Taylor Heineke was in and out of the lineup. Ryan Fitzpatrick ended up, breaking the hip because Charles Leno Jr. was his left tackle. And Bears fans know Charles Leno Jr. very, 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 very well. We don't know what would have happened had Ryan Fitzpatrick not been hurt. I don't know what would happen had he not been hurt. But they bounced around a lot of quarterbacks last season, Taylor Heineke being one of them. Chase Young ended up tearing his ACL. Like, it was just a mess.
And we'll talk about Chase Young here in a few minutes as we get into their storylines. Yeah, for me, with Washington Commanders, if they can find, if Carson Wentz can recapture this magic that he had, before the ACL tear. Izzy is on the show. David Henderson, thank you for the shout out. You're just here so he doesn't get fined. We would never find you, man. We really do appreciate you. Also, I have shared the StreamYard link to all of the places: Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and on YouTube. So if you wanted to join us and talk some Washington Commander football, that is in our Prime Sports World Facebook page. I also will share it to the NFL Supreme Facebook page, along with the NBA Supreme Facebook page as well. So if anybody wants to hop on, talk some Commanders football, you're more than welcome to do so. Also, also joining us now on the show, CEO of Prime Sports World, Mr. Israel Rivera. Welcome into the show, man. How are you?
Going good, man. How you guys doing?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. So my expectations for Washington, like as I mentioned, if they could just, because I almost feel like Riverboat Ron might be on his last opportunity there in Washington. I feel like if this team doesn't make the playoffs or at least have consistent, improvement from last season to this season, he may be out of a job. And this is probably Carson Wentz's last opportunity to be a starting quarterback in the National Football League. So if Carson Wentz isn't able to figure it out this season, I think he's going to be out of a job as well.
And just to fact check, they did win the East that year. Alex Smith, because Alex Smith was comeback player of the year, which also turned out to be his last. Was that his last season?
Yes, it was. Yep.
Because he ended up retiring.
That was 2 years ago when that was when they played the Buccaneers, right? They hosted a playoff game, right? They probably should.
Hosted the playoff.
And they had Taylor Heineke was the starting quarterback that year. I mean that game.
Man, I didn't sound confident enough. You had to fact check it anyways.
Is that? I came in wrong. Partial GM of the Jets. Anyways, my expectations for Washington. I think they're the third place team. They're the third best team in this division. Clearly, we'll see what they do. How they do offensively. They just signed Terry McLaurin to a big deal, $28 million signing bonus, man. That's the biggest that's the largest for a wide receiver in the NFL.
Yep.
So congratulations to that young man.
And 76% of his contract fully guaranteed. He is now in the top 5 of the highest paid wide receivers in the National Football League. He trails only Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown, and I think Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, and rightfully so. And and with Washington, I think with you look at Carson Wentz, bringing in Carson Wentz, you finally get a starting caliber quarterback, and you don't have to play with these kind of backup quarterbacks now. You get somebody that's proven, and he also has to prove himself too, right? He's he's got to prove that he can be a Pro Bowl, MVP caliber quarterback that he was. I don't think he'll get back to that level, but I think he can establish himself as one of the better quarterbacks in the league again. But he also has to prove himself as well. So, but I do agree with you, Ron Rivera. If he doesn't at least make this team competitive, which I think they should be, he'll be on his way out as well. And the whole Daniel Snyder thing is a whole different story.
We'll get it. Let's talk about that right off the bat. So the investigation of Daniel Snyder, do you think it'll be a distraction for the Washington Commanders this season? So they're doing a shadow investigation into him. He's in front of the White House. The NFL is closely monitoring, and ultimately, they're going to figure out what these findings are about a toxic work culture that he may have had, inappropriate contact with 2 cheerleaders that were part of the team's organization. And then there's the other factor of the fact that he was stealing money from the league. Allegedly, obviously, all this is allegedly. He's allegedly stealing money from the league, not collecting into the collective bargaining agreement, not putting in his share of the annual revenue. Do you think this Daniel Snyder stuff will be a distraction for this team this season? Yes or no?
I'll go first. I will say yes. I don't want to say yes and no, because a locker room can either be galvanized by this type of stuff, or they can let the outside noise kind of distract them, right? It all depends on how Ron Rivera keeps everything kind of close-knit within the locker room. I think, Roger Goodell saying that he doesn't have the authority to get rid of Daniel Snyder, I think that kind of puts some bad taste in a lot of the players and probably.
He's not wrong. He technically doesn't.
He's not wrong. No, he's not wrong. He
technically doesn't have that authority.
Yeah, he doesn't have that authority. And then Daniel Snyder not, testifying.
In the White House.
Yeah, that kind of, because he really, he's already came out publicly and said he doesn't want the information from the investigation going public. He wants to keep it in-house. And that's kind of shady in its way. And we all know, and it's kind of messed up how it's like, okay, well, the sexual scandal with the cheerleaders and everything, that's a big deal. But it's not as big of a deal as you stealing money from the owners and stealing money from the league, right? So that's where he's kind of in trouble with the owners. And, where it's like, once you steal money from the other, good old boys, now you're in trouble, right? And then TJ will probably say that as well. I mean, You know, it's messed up, but it's, you know, when you steal money from these other rich guys, yeah, now they start to be like, hey, no, you know, that sexual scandal, you know, that was bad enough. You know, we could have probably, you know, let you walk scared away, which you shouldn't have. But you stealing money from us? Oh, hell no. We can't deal with that. So I'm not sure how this is going to unfold. I think it is going to be a little bit of a distraction, and it depends on, you know, Ron Rivera kind of keeping that locker room tight knit. So,
TJ.
Yeah, I can agree with that notion. Placing that responsibility on Ron Rivera. It's unfair that you ask him to man that ship. Again, it's a sinking ship. It's holes in it left and right, and you're asking him to keep water out of a sinking ship, right? Kind of like what what's his name, David Cutley had to go through in Houston.
Yeah.
Last season, right? Like, it's a sinking ship. I need you to get me back to shore so we can fix the ship, but it's sinking, and it's sinking fast. Daniel Snyder doesn't want the information leaked publicly, bro. You don't have control over that.
Well, he doesn't necessarily have to testify because you don't have to testify against yourself. You know,
like, you also, like, what is? I was reading a CBS article. What did it say? He is refused us, like, Washington Commanders owner Daniel Snyder has refused a subpoena to appear before the House Oversight. And I'm like, bro, like,
declined to accept House Committee subpoena. It is the U.S. House Oversight Committee investigating allegations into fostering a toxic work culture in his organization. That is what the CPD hasn't accepted.
I'm like we can deny subpoenas now.
Yeah, I mean that's the precedent's been set since you know who was in office.
Like, we can deny subpoena, like, and even he didn't get to, like, constantly deny it.
Yes, he basically he did. If his lawyers have found a way to get this stuff,
and it led to him being impeached twice. So let's get that out in the open. The one thing that we have to see come from this.
He is allowed to plead the fifth. Like, he doesn't have to. He just doesn't have to.
But it's like this. It's literally just like what Deshaun Watson's going through. Like, all these people are saying the same thing about you. You can't keep denying and saying I'm innocent. I didn't do anything wrong. If they said this, if this person says the same thing, and this person says the same thing, and this person, like, and it constantly keeps coming out. All right. You have a sexual harassment lawsuit. You have a toxic workplace lawsuit going. Like, bro, all these people cannot be lying. All of them can't be lying.
More than likely, no. When there's smoke, there's usually fire.
So, and like to Izzy's point, like the sexual misconduct thing, unfortunately, that could probably get looked at, because if we really wanted to, if they were to do enough digging, all these owners probably have done something along the same lines of that is sexual misconduct, right? Like, all of them. Like,
probably. I mean, I don't want to throw. I don't want to throw a blanket like that across everyone.
No, hell no. Come on, man. I ain't gonna say all of them. Because two of the owners are women, and one of them is 101 years old. So let's. Hey
man, they can still harass people.
I'm kidding, dude. I'm kidding. She probably don't even know what day it is, right? Like, let's get that out in the open. So majority of them probably have, if you do enough digging, they probably have some dirt on them like this, right?
Yeah, I agree.
To Izzy's point, where he lost any kind of support or anything was when they found out, bro, like, you stole money from us. Ain't no allegedly about that, David. He stole money from them. He stole money. The money that you're supposed to split, the revenue money that you're supposed to split with the other 31 owners of the NFL, he kept his portion. That's stealing.
That's stealing outright.
Outright. Ain't no allegedly, ain't no we gotta wait. No, that is stealing. So what's gonna happen is Daniel Snyder, by the end of this investigation, whenever it comes to a close, I don't know how long it's gonna take, they have to come together as a collective and be like, yo, bro, yeah, you got to sell the team. That's what's going to happen. That's the only way we can see any kind of resolution coming out of this. Like, you got to sell the team. Ain't no I'm sorry's. Ain't no I'll get the money back. No, you got to sell the team. You got to go.
I mean,
And that's still allegedly. He hasn't technically been found guilty of anything. So. We're just covering our asses here. Like
and we know that, and allegedly, right? Allegedly, I'm putting it in quotes. Allegedly,
thank you.
You know, and you know, they kept 2 sets of books on their finances. They withheld security deposits from fans. They withheld the revenue from the Notre Dame game that was at FedEx Field. They withheld the Kenny Chesney concert revenue. I mean, a whole bunch of crap that this guy was doing to keep money and use it for other things. And we don't even know what the hell those things are. And I'm pretty sure when those things come out to light, it's just going to look really bad. It already looks really bad. And, I think eventually in the future, after this season, he's going to be forced. It's going to be kind of like a Donald Sterling kind of, you know,
without the rampant racism, right?
Without the rampant racism,
that we know.
We could even probably threw that in there. Shoot.
Right, that we know. Like, ain't no telling what, you know, ain't no telling who still needs to come out and say they piece, right? Like, it's like, because again, like I get it, you know, it's suspicious that, you know, when one person, something happens in like the year 2009. You wait till 2022 or 2021 to say something, then all of a sudden, here comes everybody else saying that. Like, I get it's suspicious that you wait, but people also understand that people like Daniel Snyder, that B word, that billionaire, they have the power and the money to make certain things disappear and not come to light.
It's true.
Right? Yeah, and as players, TJ. You know, like, you know, the Rooneys, like players like love to play for some of these owners, like the Rooneys. They love to play for Robert Kraft and the Patriots. I don't know if any of these players are gonna want to play for this owner anymore. Like, moving forward, hearing all this crap. You know what I mean? So
let's move away from scandal to back to the football field and talk about Chase Young. Tore his ACL in Week 10 last year. That's about 11-month time frame recovery. That would put him right on track to come back in that Jacksonville game on week number 1. When do you expect to see Chase Young back on the football field? I do not think he's like practicing. Like, I know he's working out with Von Miller right now, but I do not think he's like practicing with the team right now.
Training camp.
In training camp, yeah. But, I mean, also a lot of that stuff is, you know, semi-optional.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's when he'll be back.
Yeah.
To me, that's when training.
So when do you think he'll be back on the to play a football game for them?
To play a football game, I think he'll be back at least week 2, week 3, first 3 weeks of the season. He'll be back. He tore it in November. And
Correct.
we've seen how medical, technology has been so advanced with torn ACLs, and I mean, golly, we saw this guy come back from the running back from the Rams. Golly's name came back.
Cam Akers.
Yeah, Cam Akers come back from a torn Achilles. You know, in months. You know, instead of a year.
6 months.
6 months, right? So, you know, I think you know, it's encouraging to see him working out with Von Miller. And obviously, when Chase Young gets back, I mean, him, Montez Sweat, I mean, they had a fierce front seven. I mean, that was one of the best front sevens in the league.
Jonathan Allen.
Yeah, so Jonathan Allen, yep. So, you know, the names keep going and on and on. So, I think Chase Young will be back. I think I'm going to guesstimate week 3. I think they'll let him, you know, kind of, you know, sit out first couple weeks of the season, and he'll be back week 2, week 3.
So my opinion on this is I agree with you. I think it'll be week 3. Just looking at their schedule real quick before we get into actually look at their schedule later. They go Jacksonville comes there. I think they could probably beat Jacksonville without Chase Young. Then they go to Detroit. That's kind of a coin flip if you can beat them without Chase Young. But I think it can be done. It's this first game where they have the first division game where they go against the Philadelphia Eagles. Where you're going to want Chase Young back on your field and back in the stadium. When you go up against the Philadelphia, I think it'll be week 3 when we see Chase Young back on the football field for this Washington Commanders roster.
I think it all depends on how he goes, how he looks in training camp / preseason. I think a lot of teams with injured superstars, they're gonna treat that first week of the season like a fourth preseason game, right? Maybe. So they'll need Chase Young back quick. They have very little. What? Very little. They got pass rushers left and right
Yeah, they got a. They're
on their team, bro. Like, are you serious? They front four is better than most teams 7. They can
De'Aaron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Chazia.
Like, come on, man. Like,
Montez Sweat,
like
David Mayo is still on this team. Jamon Davis, like Cole Holcomb.
They got hitters on that squad. Like yeah, Chase Young is significant. Like he was the defensive rookie of the year. Like I get that, but to say that okay, they'll need him to go out to Philly's QB who can scramble. I get that, but that's what De'Aaron Payne is for. That's what Montez Sweat is for. Like that's why you draft the bevy of pass rushers that they have, right? So they can.
And my fellow Packer fan, I'm gonna say this right now, man. Hey, they can afford to not have Chase Young on the field, other than like us, where we can't afford to have like a Rashawn Gary not on the field. You know, because we're.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
I'm just putting that out there.
Thank you for acknowledging that. Like, so I think that Eagles game was at week 3. You said, David.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll come back week 2. Like he might not see he might get some run in the preseason just to get his feet under him, just to get that pop, that shoulder pad pop that every player needs, you know, just to knock that rust off. But you already know how they do that. Like you might do 1 or 2 drives, and then you're done for the rest of the game. That's it.
I'm gonna say this though too. I'm gonna say this: he's gonna probably be up for comeback player of the year as well, because I expect him to be one of the sack leaders this season. You know, coming back week 2, week 3, not playing. You know, missing 3 games just due to rehab. Coming back. I expect him to be up there, comeback player of the year.
Moving on from there, back to the scandal. Let's talk about the name. Washington Commanders, thoughts on the name? I've actually kind of throughout different shows, I've made my thoughts on the name very clear. What do you guys think about the new name?
I don't hate it. Like to me, you should have did this from Jump Street instead of wasting 2 years going by football team, right? Like that's the best you can do. Like you have more than enough time to come up with a new name but instead you go by, as hereby going forward, we're going to be known as the Washington Football Team, WFT. Like,
I would rather they have kept the football team name. This name is trash. It's horrible. You spent 2 years coming up with a name. The only thing that I like about this name is that it's not racist.
It's not racist, and
it's not creative. It's not creative. It doesn't shorten well either. Like there's no like it's trash. It's not a good name. And I'm sorry, all you Washington Commander fans. I would have loved to call themselves. You have 2 names in 2 different respective sports. I mean, you got the San Francisco Giants that used to play in Brooklyn, not in Brooklyn, but you have the San Francisco Giants, and you have the New York Giants, right? And you got the Brooklyn or not the Dodgers, but golly, I'm trying to think of other names.
Izzy, the San Francisco Giants, they really did used to play in New York.
Yeah, they did used to play in New York. That's why they call them the New York Football Team Giants. So that's what
I'm talking about the baseball team Giants. They used to play in New York.
Yeah, they used to play in New York. Yeah, I know. Yeah. So my thing is that you probably could have called them. I would have liked them to call themselves the Braves. That would have been nice, and they could have kind of kept it like an axe or whatever the case is. Kind of kept that Indian kind of feel, but just not kind of using a racist name like the Redskins. I don't know if there was anything where they could have kind of worked with any Indian organizations, tribes, and probably, kind of donated and then kind of took their name, like an Apache or something like that, or the tribes or something like that, and then kind of like gave them a percentage of the namesake. I would have liked to see that, but then again, we're talking about Daniel Snyder here, right? A guy that has kept money away from billionaire owners. Why would he give money to NFL? Or why would he give money to Indian organizations?
Daniel Snyder didn't even want to change this name. Like he never wanted to. He was forced to. He was basically forced to, and that's why the name changed.
And Dave Henderson, the Washington Generals, you cannot do that because of the team that plays the Harlem Globetrotters. Like that's
that would have
Washington Generals. Like that is trademarked, so you can't.
Yeah, that would have been cool. That would have been cool. And then you can't name them the same thing. The Capitals is the Capitals in hockey. So I would have liked the Braves. I mean, you got the Atlanta Braves, you got the Washington Braves. I mean, I would have liked something along that line. But the Commanders, that seems kind of corny to me. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. They're gonna have to roll with it, and then hopefully this name sticks for years, and it lasts. So. I don't know. And honestly, did the fans? I'm not sure. Did the fans have any say so or any type of voting?
No, they didn't.
In this, and I think the fans should have.
I mean, yeah, they're the one who's going to root for this team. I don't like it. Let's move away from their storylines. Let's talk about their draft. Jahan Dodson, first pick out of wide receiver out of Penn State. Mathis, defensive tackle out of Alabama. Another running back out of Alabama going in the third round. Percy Butler, safety, Louisiana. Round 5, they took Sam Howell, quarterback out of North Carolina, Sam Howell. Was projected to be a first-round pick at the beginning of this season. How the mighty have fallen. Cole Turner, tight end out of Nevada.
That's not a fall.
Yes, it is. Sam Hall is for sure. That's for sure a foul. He was projected to be a first round pick.
You didn't let me finish. That's the problem. That's not a fall. That's a goddamn satellite crash in the earth. Like that is bad.
They took the other Chris Paul out of Tulsa, and then they took Christian Holmes, cornerback out of Oklahoma State. So what we think about what they did in the draft here? I have went on record when we did the draft analysis. I think that Jahan Dodson at 16 was way too high for him. It felt like they just they saw the run on wide receivers and they just panicked. He's like a fringe first-round pick. I don't really love him going to the middle of the first round. But as TJ always says, if this is the guy you want, he's not going to be there later. So you got to get him when you can get him. But I think I would have been comfortable. I would have been okay with like missing out on this guy.
Yeah,
that's no disrespect to him, obviously.
No disrespect to who?
Jahan Dodson.
Jahan. Yeah, the Sam Howell pick, like it's. I don't think he had any college eligibility left, so he had to go pro.
Yeah, but because of the COVID thing, I think everybody got an extra year of eligibility. Yeah. But I think his hands were tied.
Okay, so this was a dude who was a preseason Heisman favorite or candidate, I should say. First round pick, like David mentioned. Yeah, you can be all that when you got Javonte Williams in your backfield to hand the ball off to.
He could have came back for one more season if he had wanted to.
And you got Daz Newsome to catch the ball for you. Those two dudes are gone, and the bevy other of talented players from that North Carolina team from a year ago, they're gone. And you had Sam Howell looking like what we expected Sam Howell to look like without those two dudes, right? So for you to not be even in the third round, right? Like you fell out the first.
Yeah.
All right, you fell out the first round. You fell out. Okay, you're gonna be a second round pick. All right, that's what your agent's probably telling you. That's what your friends and family's probably telling you. Second round comes and goes. Third round comes and goes. Fourth round comes and goes, and you finally get that call in the fifth round where it's a situation for you where you don't have to play right away. Like, at least I hope not. Like only way I want to see you on the field is if Carson Wentz is hurt, which I hope doesn't happen. Jahan Dodson obviously is the headliner of this draft class, and that's right. And that's literally just that. And that's literally, hey, we have to throw the ball to somebody not named Terry McLaurin and Logan Thomas when he's healthy.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Yeah, so Jahan Dodson, look for a lot of passes to come your way, because Terry McLaurin has proven you can't one-on-one him. You got to single high him every time. So you should have a lot of one-on-one matchups coming your way this offseason.
And then in the second round at 47 overall, they take this defensive tackle out of Alabama, who's almost never. He's probably, unless somebody in the front line gets hurt, he's not going to see the field all that much. They needed free agency. They needed to dress in the draft. They needed to address this offensive line. Don't forget, this offensive line is the reason that Ryan Fitzpatrick only played like 5 snaps for this team before he got hurt.
You ain't wrong.
Like they needed to go like either secondary or offensive lineman. I don't really understand drafting because this would be one of the situations. He probably wasn't even the best player available, but it doesn't make any sense to draft a strength on top of already have a strength. Brian Robinson, the running back out of Alabama, is a productive player. He ran for 1,300 yards in his 3 seasons in Alabama, or the one just last season when he was there. And he had a way to turn. He had a way for Najee Harris to go to the NFL, Josh Jacobs, Damian Harris. And when he got his chance, 1,300 yards.
And Alabama running backs have been pretty good, besides like C.J. Yeldon. I can think of only like a couple.
Eddie Lacy.
Eddie Lacy.
Big boy had a good year or two. He had a good year.
Yeah, he had like one good season. Trent Richardson was an all-time bust.
He ate his way out the league, and the P98 guy couldn't help him. Okay, so anyways, we're not talking about Eddie Lacy here. We're talking about Brian Robinson. All right, but anyways, I would say he's a good north-south runner. And we've seen it. I mean, we didn't think that Josh Jacobs. I mean, he was behind a bunch of guys, and so was, Najee Harris, and then Brian Robinson gets his time, So, I think that's a good pick in the 3rd round. I think he'll be a productive running back. He's like the 3rd running back on the depth chart.
Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick are ahead of him.
I think J.D. McKissick could be more or less used
3rd down.
Third down or like in the passing game, right? Obviously.
100%.
And so I look at Antonio Gibson. Right? Yeah, he was dinged up a little bit last year, right? And you need some of that insurance. Get a young guy from Alabama, a workhorse guy like Brian Robinson that you can hand the ball off to north south.
I mean, but this is another point though. But
I gotta agree with David. Like your O-line is the reason the guy that you pinned your hopes on played literally like 2 games for you and missed the season with a broke hip, right? Like.
And retired.
And retired because of it. Like it doesn't matter who's catching the ball, who's throwing it, or who's running the ball. If the cogs up front can't do their job.
They did not draft offensive line in this draft until round 7, where they took the other Chris Paul.
And like bro, that's some Ryan Pace Chicago Bear-ish, right? Like O-line is a problem. Let me wait till the latter rounds of the draft to fix that issue. Like I get it.
That way you have a front office to be like, look, we took an offensive lineman. Look, got him. Here he is. We got him.
That part right there. Like, and Izzy is like, I'm sure like you and Dave can attest to this as Packer fans. Like they draft a receiver in the latter parts of the draft to be like, hey, see, we got one. Shut up. We got one. Yeah. Leave us alone. So like, no,
100%.
Like no,
running back was not a position of need, and you take him in the 3rd round. Like they have some pretty decent running backs already on the roster. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I was pretty critical on their draft when it first happened. Now that looking at it even further now in retrospect, I think they did a poor job with this draft class.
Like outside of Jahan Dodson, it's not a good draft.
It's not a good draft. And even the guy, the safety they got from Louisiana.
Percy Butler.
Yeah, Percy Butler. I mean, he's not really. I mean, you don't want your safety to be a ball hog, but I mean, you want him to get more than what? How many 3 career interceptions he's had? 4 career interceptions, and he's not that big of a tackler, right? He was second team all Sun Belt. Like they're gonna draft a guy that was second team all Sun Belt in the 4th round. Come on, bro.
Izzy, to the lack of career picks he has in college, it's real easy to be like, hey,
well,
don't throw in his direction.
That's true.
He ran a 4.36. He ran a 4.36. That's why he ended up in the 4th round. He
was second team all Sun Belt. I'm sorry, but that's not gonna cut it. If you're second team all Sun Belt, I mean, the Sun Belt is worse than the MAC. You're gonna draft a guy that was second team there in that conference, but then I look at I look at a guy like Sam Howell, right? 1st round grade for like 2 years, and last year he got picked apart last year, right? And to TJ's part, he didn't have all his bevy of weapons, and it showed. And I was not a big fan of Sam Howell, anyways.
I think what I think about Sam Howell is that at least he started more games in the league than Mr. Trubisky, right?
That's true.
Mr. Trubisky was one of those hotter quarterbacks. Mr. Trubisky sat behind a guy that was not in the league, didn't even get in the league, right? And so at least Sam Howell has some.
Maybe a year and
Yeah.
At least Sam Howell has some reps, more seasons under him that you could see. And I think Sam Howell, if he doesn't have to start right away like TJ said, he could sit behind Carson Wentz for a couple years, and if he's good enough, and he develops into that first round grade that he was 2 years ago, then you might get a steal there in the 5th round. But we got to see, because Sam Howell, he was a little bit unpredictable last year. I mean, he has a strong arm, he has athleticism, he can make every damn throw on the football field. He just gets himself in trouble sometimes when he tries to force the issue, and that's what he did last year. And so, when he has some talent around him, Sam Howell's a good quarterback. When he doesn't have so much talent, and we know even if you can have talent in the NFL, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You still have to know how to read defenses.
Yep.
So,
moving on from their draft, let's talk about free agency a little bit. Roster shakeup. So obviously they traded for Carson Wentz. They gave up a 2nd and a 3rd in order to get Carson Wentz. They signed Andrew Norwell. They signed Trey Turner. Both of those are guards. One from Jacksonville, one from Pittsburgh, I want to say. Key departures: Ryan Fitzpatrick, Brandon Sheriff, Tim Settle. Both of those guys are guards who started a majority of their offensive line last season. And Landon Collins still hasn't been signed yet during this free agency cycle. I think he's become too injury prone now to really generate any buzz. But Landon Collins no longer on this team. So what do we think about what they do here with the roster and the shakeup of their free agency? They did resign a bunch of their own guys. J.D. McKissick resigned with his team after he spurned the Kansas City Chiefs and went back to Washington. Bobby McClain, safety. They also got Cornelius Lucas as a tackle to go back with them.
Obviously, the Carson Wentz thing. I'm sorry, TJ. Go ahead.
No,
go
ahead.
I'll go to the thing.
They re-signed Cam Sims.
The Carson Wentz thing. The Carson Wentz is the biggest signing, right? He finally got you a quarterback that is a starting caliber quarterback, not a guy that's a backup, not a guy that's a journeyman, a starting caliber quarterback. Rest in peace to Dwayne Haskins. He was supposed to be their future. He gave up on him.
Didn't work out.
And didn't work out. So you had some really some third tier type of quarterbacks like Taylor Heineke. And I said TJ knows, I said something that Taylor Heineke said. He was like, the reporter asked him, "Do you think you'll be able to win the starting job?" He's like, "No." He basically is like, when you pay a guy that much money, I don't expect to be the starter. I expect to be his backup, right? And that's a great mind state for a backup quarterback. I expect to be this dude's backup, So Carson Wentz, you have to prove us something. This is your last job. This is Carson Wentz's last starting gig. Can you guys, I don't know if you guys prove me on that, but it's his last starting gig this year. So, Carson Wentz.
I agree with you 100%. Like, if it doesn't work out, this will be his last starting job in the NFL.
You're a backup. You're a backup in this league, Carson. So you have to prove something to the Washington Commanders. Then losing Brandon Sheriff was big. That was big. I look at Charles Leno and I'm like, damn, TJ's probably seeing nightmares here. Charles Leno from the Bears. Oh my goodness. You rolling him out.
Charles Leno is still the starting left tackle of this team today, right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
and then they're expecting a lot of improvement out of Sam Cosmi. They drafted him last season to be their right tackle.
Texas.
Yeah, out of Texas. They're expecting a lot out of him this season.
Yeah, they are for sure. Like, I think out of all the free agent signing, out of all the free agent losses, they're gonna miss Brandon Sheriff the most.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even close. Like, that guy was everything for you. Like, he was the heart and soul of that offensive line. He was Mr. Reliable. He, like, even in the video game, like, even in the Madden video game, like, the dude is goddamn, like, he's good. He's good. Like, Trey Turner is a more than serviceable replacement. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler. 4 of those are like 5 straight. Like, 4 of those 4 straight, 2015 to 2019. Like, that was like he was a straight Pro Bowler. Like, every year during that stretch, he went to the Pro Bowl. So Trey Turner is a more than serviceable replacement of Brandon Scherf. To Izzy's point about Carson Wentz, depending on who you ask, yeah, bro, this could be it.
Oh, this is it. This is it.
I said depending on who you ask. Again,
Right.
somebody's always gonna take a chance. Like, you were drafted second overall for a reason. You were 11-2. You were an MVP candidate. Like, you were the MVP. Ain't no MVP candidate. You were the MVP until a torn ACL got in the way. Right? For that notion alone, somebody's always gonna take a chance.
But I think this will be his, like, if another team takes a chance, it'll be his fourth shot. I just don't see it. Like, I think he'll be a career backup if this doesn't work out.
I want to say this about Carson Wentz. We saw the decline after the torn ACL. Really doesn't. I mean, I don't want to say does it matter for like a pocket quarterback to like, oh, if he tears the ACL, he can still come back because most pocket quarterbacks aren't as mobile. But I think the element of Carson Wentz in the RPO.
When you say hold on. When you say decline,
I'm talking about like him like as a passer. He's declined as a passer because I think the element.
I think his completion percentage is about the same as it's always been.
Like,
he hasn't made. I mean, in Indianapolis last year. I mean, how great of you was he as a passer? Really,
27-7.
Did he make those necessary great throws?
27-7.
I mean, his completion percentage, it was at 70% the season he would have won the MVP. I mean, the season after that, he played 16 games. He threw for 4,000 yards. He had a 63% completion percentage. Statistically, it was his best season ever in 2019.
Completion percentage, though?
Yeah, I mean, there was 6 points. I mean, that's not.
I can give you that, but I think the element, my whole thing from looking at the tape, I know you guys looking at the numbers, but looking at the tape, I think the element of him not being able to get out and run like he wants to kind of doesn't keep the defenses at bay in a way. That kind of takes the element out of his game in a way. So in my opinion, I just think he's not the same player, obviously, because he can't get out the pocket.
I mean, let's not sit here and pretend like Carson Wentz was like Josh Allen out there. I mean, he never had over 300 yards rushing in a season.
But he was still athletic, man. He was still athletic enough to.
Sure, but I mean, he was never like the biggest running threat ever. I mean, he had 64 attempts, the most he's ever had in a season.
Right, like he's always been a high sack guy. Like, he's always gotten sacked a lot. Right, part of that is him. Part of that is him running.
I mean, that last season he was in Philadelphia, he got sacked 50 times in that season.
That
was only in 12 games that he played in.
Right, and that was terrible offensive line play. Like that was just god awful.
We were talking a lot of crap that year about their offensive line. So I remember, and they brought him out.
I mean, that wide receiving score wasn't all that good either.
Like Greg Ward Jr. was his top receiver. Come on, man.
Yeah, the guy was a converted.
What am I supposed to do for that? Like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Like, he was actually pretty good last season. I mean, 62% completion percentage, 3,500 yards, 25 7 touchdowns, 7 picks.
27.
You also added in 215-yard rushing along with his rushing touchdown as well.
The year that he was running like a chicken with his head cut off, he did throw for 15 interceptions.
I wonder why.
He gets sacked 50
coming
times.
Back to the NFC East, so I don't know if some of those ghosts are still in his head, but he did kind of redeem himself. I will say that 7 interceptions, but how much of that is reliant on the fact that he had Jonathan Taylor, and Jonathan Taylor had one of the best running back years in recent history. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I think they're gonna miss Brandon Scherf. I also think they're gonna miss Landon Collins, even though he hasn't been quite the player he was when I thought he should have won Defensive Player of the Year that season. But I guess we'll see. Let's get into the schedule. So let's talk about their schedule a bit. The first week of the season, they go Jacksonville comes there. Do you see them coming out of there you see them winning that game the first week of the season against Jacksonville?
Do I see them beating Jacksonville? Yes, I see them beating Jacksonville.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I tend to agree with you on that. The next week, they go to Detroit to take on the Detroit Lions. How do you guys see this one shaking out?
They lose that game.
They lose to Detroit?
They lose to Detroit.
No, I'm gonna have them beat Detroit. Yeah, I think they're gonna beat Detroit.
You think Chase Young comes back that game?
No,
No.
I think he comes back that game.
no, I think he comes back next week against Philadelphia. And speaking of that game, Philadelphia comes into Landover, Maryland. How do you see that? How do you see that one shaking out, gentlemen?
That's a loss.
That's a win.
I'm agree with you, Izzy. I think they lose that game. I think the Philadelphia's Eagles are going to be. I think they're going to be good this season. I think they're going to sweep. They're going to sweep. They're going to sweep the Washington Commanders.
I think they're going to
Really?
sweep the Washington Commanders too.
Your notion
not like
of
Jalen Hurts.
your notion of they're gonna win this game is just because you think they're gonna be good. Like, really,
Yeah, I believe in this.
like,
Right?
that's your reason as to why you think they're gonna win this.
And it's not a Jalen Hurts thing. I believe in this.
No,
I believe in
it
this
ain't got,
running game. I believe in the running game. I also think their
Right.
defense is going to be one of the top defensive units in the league.
Like,
Yeah,
you
I
just
think-
like I think
They're gonna win a lot of dirty games.
You literally said I think Philly's gonna win this game. 'Cause I think Philly's gonna be good. That's why I think they're gonna win. What?
Yeah. I think that,
Okay, so David, we're gonna have to expect this all season, week in and week out. TJ's about to pick apart Jalen Hurts every single game.
Every
no,
goddamn game. You are absolutely right.
I am not a believer in Jalen Hurts, but when I look at the Philadelphia Eagles roster as a whole, I think they have a good running backs. I think they have some good receivers. I think their defense could be a top 5 unit.
And you said all of that, and it always comes back to what position?
It won't matter.
Jalen Hurts.
Oh my God!
The
Okay.
next week
I
they
agree
go
with
they go to Dallas the next week. I think they fall into a 2-game losing streak. I think they lose to Dallas in Dallas.
Dallas is my God. Dallas is going through some things that they're not really talking about. That needs to be talked about. Like you already know how. Like David knows this for a fact. I don't know if I've ever said this to you, Izzy, but the Dallas Cowboys, they will never be right. They will never right that ship until Jerry Jones is 100% completely out of the picture.
He's never gonna be out the picture.
Like, bro, I mean that. Like Jerry Jones, like until like. I call it the ghost of Jimmy Johnson. All right? Until the Cowboys do right by Jimmy Johnson, they won't win a thing. Jimmy Johnson won that man three Super Bowls. You know Jimmy Johnson not in the Cowboy Ring of Honor?
Now that's it. Now I would say this, and you guys make it laugh. Jerry Jones, until he's out of the picture, Jerry Jones will somehow be running that team from his grave. Somehow, some way, he will be running that team from his grave. It'll be in his will.
He's gonna end up getting like he's gonna end up being like cryogenically frozen like Walt Disney, so like bring it back to life at some point. From that game, all right, did you guys make a pick on that one? So I'm taking Dallas.
I got Washington losing.
I got Washington winning that.
I just think Dallas. I just think they're gonna get after it. They're gonna take advantage of that weak offensive line.
I agree with you on that.
I got Washington.
Moving on from there with the Tennessee Titans coming to Landover, Maryland. I think this is where Washington breaks their 2-game losing streak. I'm gonna have them beat the Tennessee Titans, and I have no idea what I picked when we did the Titan show. I'm just gonna treat every show as its own bubble this year. So I'm gonna take the Commanders to beat the Titans. I don't feel really good about that, but I'm gonna go with it anyways.
I'm actually gonna pick Tennessee to win this game. Washington is on a 4-game losing streak after beating Jacksonville.
You are just disrespectful this year.
I know.
Like, you are just terrible.
I know. I don't really believe in the team that much.
Tennis, but you can believe in Jalen Hurts. Get the.
I do. I love Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, give me Tennessee. I think they gon' you already know how they like that man in the background, like that man in the backfield. Yeah, he might like it. It might take a minute. But by that third, fourth, by like late third, early fourth, they gonna get tired of tackling Derrick Henry. And
most teams do.
Most teams do. And then, the wall comes down and
he breaks. He does that. So he'll have like those 7-8 yard, rushes per game.
It's not even right. It's not even those, is he? Right, it's not even those. It's the 4-yard gains. It's the 5-yard gains.
It's the 1 yard gains. Like
It's the hard. It's the hard 3-yard gains.
Yeah.
But it takes 6 people to bring him down.
Yeah, and then the third, fourth quarter, he just busts an 80-yard rush to the house, and he just demoralizes your whole defense. Yeah, give me that.
So the next 2 weeks, I'm still sticking with the Commanders to win that game. The next 2 weeks, they play back-to-back opponents in the NFC North. They go to Chicago, and then they go to the Green Bay comes there. Do they win both those games? Yes or no?
They beat Chicago. They lose to Green Bay.
Of course, you say that. I think both games are a pick 'em. I wholeheartedly believe that. Like,
I'm taking the Commanders to lose both games. I think they're going to lose to the Bears in Chicago, and then I think Green Bay comes to town, and I think Green Bay pops them in the mouth too. So that's two games in a row.
I think they split it like some way. If they lose to Chicago, they beat Green Bay and vice versa.
The next week they play. They go to Indianapolis to take on one of Carson Wentz's former teams. How do you guys see this one shaking out? I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts to win this game. I do not think Carson Wentz gets his quote unquote revenge.
I'm going to go with Washington winning this game. I just think, even though I think Indianapolis has a really good offensive line, I think by this point, Chase Young and the gang are going to be on full pass rush mode, and I think Matty Ice and those old legs of his in the pocket is going to have a tough time. They're going to have to give the ball to Jonathan Taylor a lot.
Also, David Henderson, that would technically be their fourth name change because they went from the racist name to the football team to the Commanders, and then if they went to a fourth. If they changed their name again, that'd be a fourth name, Mr. Henderson.
Third.
Part of me wants you swinging that, dude. Part of me wants Carson Wentz to win this game because it just sticks it to Jim Irsay, who I think should also be on his way out as an owner. I kind of feel like these ownership probes. I feel like more of them are coming. I would not be surprised if Jim Irsay's name is in the news again. It has been in the past. Give me Washington in a walk-off field goal.
Stick with Indianapolis. Then Minnesota comes to town. How do you see this one shaking out? You have the Minnesota Vikings going into Landover, Maryland.
I think they lose.
I'm actually going to give a win to Washington here against Minnesota. I think they get after Kirk Cousins. But Kirk Cousins, same thing. This is a former team too. He wants to stick it to them. I think it will be a problem, that defensive backfield for Washington this season.
I agree with you. I agree with you still.
Again, because we talked about this last season again. And Kendall Fuller's out there by himself damn near. So it's,
William Jackson III hasn't really regained that Pro Bowl form he had a few years ago when that first season when he was in Cincinnati. I'm taking Minnesota to win this game. I got them falling. This is 4-game losing streak. Yeah. So after they beat Tennessee, this is 4 in a row that they're about to fall.
I'm gonna go with Washington.
3 and 6
Washington to win because this is one of those games that Minnesota loses, just like how they lost against Detroit. This is one of those games that they lose at the buzzer, like in OT or something against Washington.
Drop. He caught it. That can go one or two ways. If that pass rush can get after Kirk Cousins early, Washington is going to win it. But if Kirk Cousins has just an ounce of time to find Adam Thielen or better yet, Justin Jefferson, it's whew.
And Dalvin Cook should have a good game. Yeah, Dalvin Cook should have a good game.
And you got Irv Smith Jr. coming back.
Yep.
And I'm really thinking Irv Smith Jr. is going to have a big year this year at the tight end position.
Hey,
so.
we will get to this when we get to the Vikings. He better. I am so serious.
And then they go to Philadelphia, take on the Eagles. How do you see that one shaking out? I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles to sweep the Commanders this season.
Sweep the Commanders. They sweeping them.
They're not sweeping them.
Yes,
they might split.
No,
they might split.
David Henderson's just disrespectful. Dalvin Cook gets
so disrespectful.
They might split. They are. Come on, man.
So who you guys
got too
picking
much
who
faith in Jalen Hurts.
at Philadelphia? So who you guys have winning this game?
I got Philly winning that game.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
Oh yeah, of course.
Hey,
I love Philly.
is this the year of virtuosos for Jalen Hurts? I'm just.
Man, you know what? You know what? You know what? I am such a big Jalen Hurts fan. I really like him. Like
I
he's
get
up
that.
there. He's
I
up
get
there.
that.
He's up there. He's up there with me.
He's up there where? He's up there with who?
No.
Up there with who?
In my world.
With who?
He's like the top of Cephalopta.
No, TJ, you don't play fantasy, so you don't understand the value of having Jalen Hurts.
Okay, here's the thing. I don't play fantasy, but I guarantee you there is a bunch of quarterbacks I would pick before I would go even get to thinking about Jalen Hurts.
From here, moving on to the next 4 games. 3 of those games are on the road. 1 of them is at home. Three. Sorry. 2 of those games are on the road. 1 is at home before their bye week. They go to Houston. Atlanta comes there. They go to the New York Giants at MetLife Stadium. A game within the division. Do they win all 3, or how do you think these 3 games shake out? I'm going to pick them to win all 3 of these games.
Man,
They go to Houston. Atlanta comes there and loses, and they beat the New York Giants in MetLife Stadium.
Yeah, I got them going on a 3-game win streak too to end the season. To go into that bye week. Right now they're at 7 wins for me. Whew.
Yeah, I don't see them. Only way I see them losing any one of these games is on some fluke shit. Like, and I mean that respectfully. Houston has no business beating them. Atlanta damn sure has no business. Atlanta don't even. I don't even know if Atlanta is sure that Marcus Mariota is starting by this point of the season.
He might not be.
Like, I'm so serious.
Atlanta's gonna have to rely on their secondary this season.
What second? They have a secondary.
Atlanta.
They got Casey Hayward and Casey Hayward.
And then the New York Giants aren't going to be,
Good.
we already talked about them.
Yeah, Paul Daniel Jones. Like, I was. Damn,
I had
hopes for you.
And then after the bye, the New York Giants come there. I think this is where they get another victory. I think they sweep the Giants. So I'll get them winning this game. I got them at 7-7 going into the final stretch of their season.
I got them right now. I got them at 8-6 right now.
I think I got them right where you got them at. Is he about 8-6, 7-5 maybe?
They're knocking on the door. They're knocking on the door to get that last playoff seed. That's what I'm talking about. Where Carson Wentz can keep them competitive. If he does that, then he remains a starting quarterback.
Yeah. Week after that, they go to the San Francisco 49ers, who probably have Trey Lance or some revolving door at quarterback at this point in the season. How do you guys see this one shaking out against San Francisco?
Man, it's hard to gauge. Be starting at quarterback. They don't know if that quarterback is going to have Deebo Samuels to play with. Right? So if I'm a 49er fan, like, I'm not making no predictions. I'm not placing no bets. I'm not doing none of that until those 2 questions are solved with a legitimate, straightforward answer. I don't want Kyle Shanahan talking in circles. I don't want John Lynch talking in circles. When they say, yo, who is the starting quarterback, it better be one name. Is Deebo Samuel going to be on this team? It better be yes. All right? And that, not to mention, like, they have a tendency to be beat to hell regardless. Right? So to David's point, it could very well be a revolving door at quarterback. And like, Jimmy G could still be, he could be back in Trey Lance could be in. They might call CJ Beathard to come back and throw passes for him. Right? George Kittle might be out. He might be in. We don't know. The hitters on defense might be in and out. We don't know. But on paper, the 49ers have the better team. But this is why we don't play. Okay, you can say that, but Mr. Henderson, but we don't know. We really don't know who's going to be there. Like, we can say that's why we don't play games on paper, as David loves to remind me all the time. Right? On paper, San Francisco has the better roster, right? They might not have, the quarterback is not up for debate. Carson Wentz is better than both Jimmy G and Trey Lance. The quarterback is not up for debate. it's the requisite parts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'm going to take San Francisco to win this game. I know it's going to be unpopular as hell, but I'm taking San Francisco.
Toss.
I'm taking San Francisco to win this game.
Izzy, coin toss it. Coin toss it.
It could be a coin toss, but I'm going to have San Francisco beat them late in the season.
Coin toss it. I got the coin toss it.
Moving on from there, they go Cleveland comes to town. Deshaun Watson's hearings are going on this week. They started today. They're going to resume tomorrow. I'm going to.
Jacoby Brissett. It's going to be Jacoby Brissett.
This is going to be a 1-year suspension, I think.
Yeah, it is. This is going to be Jacoby Brissett's show until 2023. Yeah, it's going to be unless
he just get the 1 year. I thought he was only going to get like half a season. You guys
I think it's going to be a year. I think it's going to be a year.
All signs indicate a 1-year suspension. Yeah. That's what they're talking about.
That's
what do you do with Baker then? What do you do with Baker?
I don't know.
What about him?
I mean, he's still on the team. He's not playing. He's not going to play for you guys this year.
I don't. Well, I mean, we guys? We don't know. We're not Cleveland
Brown fans. I'm talking about the Cleveland Browns.
I got to be honest with you. We'll get to Cleveland Browns when we get to Cleveland Browns.
That's a messy situation. I'm gonna go with Washington in this game. Okay,
Facts.
I'm going with Washington.
I'm gonna take Washington to also win this game. But yeah, who knows what's going on with Cleveland? We'll get to Cleveland when we do their season analysis. Then the final week of the season, Dallas comes to town. Dallas could already have everything locked up. They could not be playing for anything. I'm going to take the Washington Commanders to win this game and finish the season at 9-8 and knocking on the door of playoff contention.
I got them at 10-7. I got them winning this game too. I got them at 10-7, and they're 7 seed. They're right there. They're right there, man. I don't know. I think 10 wins does get you in the playoffs in NFC.
I agree with you. I don't know. I don't know if 9 gets you in, but I think 10.
Izzy, I like 10-7. I like that.
Yeah, I got the Commanders at 9-8. I just have them getting swept by Philadelphia. I don't know where the other difference is with the Indianapolis Colts. I think I have them losing that game too.
Well, damn sure ain't them getting swept by Philly. I'm just throwing that out there.
But yeah, that's been our Washington Commanders season preview. I have them at 9-8, 10-7, kind of around the board for everybody else. David Henderson thinks they're going to go 4-13. I don't think that's going to be the case. If that is the case, everybody gets fired.
Everybody
gets fired.
Everybody get fired. Everybody get traded.
Carson Wentz gets fired from being a productive quarterback in the National Football League. Ron Rivera probably his last head coaching job ever. Maybe now they like to recycle people, so we'll see.
Okay, even at 10-7, I think Ron Rivera doesn't keep his job either at the end of the year.
No, he keeps his job.
No, if they make the playoffs, he for sure keeps the job.
You think so? You think so?
Absolutely.
I don't know, man. We'll see.
And not to mention, with all of the scandals swirling around the Washington Commanders right now, like you want the stability of the coach to still be there, like remain. Like even if they stink this season, he may not fire him.
Like 10-7, bro. Like 10-7 amongst the scandal stuff, amongst whatever issues that they're gonna face, because it's a football season, right? Injuries are gonna happen, which is why before too long, whenever the next CBA agreement is, they're gonna be buying for a second bye week to be added to the season, which it's needed. Like you're asking me to do. Yeah. It's needed. Like eventually, you're gonna be playing 18 games. You're gonna need 2 bye weeks. You need 2 bye weeks now, right? Yeah. So
I would not be buying the team. I don't have enough money to buy the team. And
all I know is 4-13 is not happening.
Yeah, I agree with you.
4-13 is not happening. They're a much better team than 4-13, David Henderson. Sorry about that.
Totally agree with that. But this has been our Washington Commanders season preview. Let us know what comments you think about what their logo is going to be like, what their season is going to end up like. I've been David Huffman right there to TJ Hopkins, CEO of Prime Sports with Mr. Israel Rivera. Tomorrow,
I just need something other than the Waste Management W painted their team colors.
Yeah, it's so lazy. Anyways. So tomorrow we're gonna shift gears back to the NBA. As many of you know, NBA free agency starts on Thursday. So we're gonna do a little preview of the major free agents.
Wow.
And
not to cut you off, but while we were doing the show, I got a breaking news for a trade. Well, two things. The Wolves extended Torian Prince, Big Whoop, and the Knicks traded Nerlens Noel and Alec Burks to the Pistons, which frees up $19 million in cap.
They trying to get Jalen Brunson.
They are going to max out Jalen Brunson.
And Rick Brunson, his father's on the bench, so they all signs been pointing. Jalen Brunson, New York Knicks.
Is he? Not only is his father on the bench, Worldwide West, like his son, Worldwide West's son, is Jalen Brunson's agent. So it's a family affair.
So yeah, we're gonna be previewing free agency. We're gonna talk about the teams that have cap space. We're gonna talk about the notable free agents before free agency gets started on Thursday. I've been Dave Helpin right there. It's TJ Hopkins, Israel Rivera, CEO of Prime Sports World. Gentlemen, what we do here at the Prime, my friends?
We bring the heat.
Yes, sir. We bring the heat. And please like, share, and subscribe to the show. Continue checking out our content because we're.
And for all the people out there, if you're lonely and single, you going through something, just keep looking, and I hope y'all find somebody that believes in you the way these two gentlemen believe in Jalen Hurts, especially Izzy.
And on that note, we will see you guys tomorrow. David Henderson, you have a good night, my friend. We'll be back tomorrow.
Right into that.
Peace.